An entry-level e-mountain bike is the perfect tool for starting off your e-mountain bike adventures. It's going to take the sting out of the climbs, and it's also going to take you to some places that you may previously have struggled with. And furthermore to this, it's going to allow you to ride with people that you might not have ridden with before. But more than this, an entry-level e-mountain bike, depending on how much you spend, will of course get you to the same places that an e-bike costing 4 times the amount would, and also get you there maybe at the same speed too. As a starter bike, it doesn't get much better than this, so let's go take a look at all the different options out there. I'd just like to point out that this bike that I picked up secondhand for £1,200 will climb this trail at exactly the same speed this bike's costing 4 times the amount. And for most of you, that's probably enough. So let's take it back to the very basics and take a look at the different options of bikes available and the very minimum prices for each of them. Now there's 2 types of hub drive bikes available. We've got motors that are in the front hub of the wheel and of course in the rear of the bike. Now, if we're going to choose rear hub, definitely takes the win here because there's loads more options out there. Now, whilst you can get front hub drives from around £800, they often have small capacity batteries, which means not very good range, and the frames are quite spindly too. Now, this bike has up-to-date wheels, a large capacity batteries for good range, and a good option of sizes too. So some pros on this bike then, well, it's definitely very easy on the wallet. It's great for forest track and basic off-road riding. Great range coming from that battery, and you've got some great sizing too. And there's some great features on this bike. It's got walk mode, it's got a great display on there. It comes from a reputable dealer, and best of all, it's gonna get delivered to your door. And with all things good, there are definitely some downsides to this bike too. It's gonna be very limited in its true hardcore off-road capability. And of course, limited suspension performance coming from that budget fork. And there's a very biased weight in the rear of this bike due to that rear hub drive design. Now, mid-drive bikes, as the name suggests, the motor is in the middle of the frame on these, and it gives a more balanced ride, and often they have more power than those hub drive brothers, meaning you can get better climbing out of these things. And also they're a bit more sophisticated, better displays, and bigger range batteries. Now, this bike that is on screen now, I think is an absolutely fantastic example of a mid-drive bike. It comes with a motor and a battery you often find on bikes many times the price. It has a good capacity 418 watt-hour battery, a quality fork, great sizing, 29-inch wheels for a smoother ride, good grippy tyres, and get this, hydraulic disc brakes too. And some pros with this bike, well, it's got that really strong, powerful Shimano motor on there, meaning this thing will climb like an absolute mountain goat. And of course, it's all backed up by the excellent Shimano warranty too. And another great thing about this bike is it's got up-to-date geometry and sizing. Cons with this one, well, there's not too many really. It's going to give you a nice, comfortable ride on smooth trails, but it won't be as comfortable in that proper off-road terrain as a full suspension bike will be. We've had some fantastic DIY builds on eMBN over the years, such as that amazing bike that Ray has built. Now, one thing that these DIY builds have in common is that they've all been put together with people who are pretty handy with electrics. Now, whilst this shouldn't be your first option, especially if you've got limited electrical knowledge, there are options out there that come in at great price points. So let's take a look at the options. On screen now is a cheap rear hub drive kit, which is 350 watts of power. And that kicks out 35 Newton meters of torque, has 460 watt-hour battery, which has a pedal assist sensor, meaning it can fit on most mountain bikes with ease and convert them super easily. Now, the pros and cons of a DIY build, well, first up, I think biggest pro has got to be the value of this kit. It's probably the cheapest way to get into e-mountain biking. And of course, the second thing is, it's a great way of transforming that old bike you've got kicking around in the back of your shed and your garage and making it into a bit of an electric powered bike. But there are some downsides to this. First up, you've got to fit all that kit yourself, which does require some knowledge. And then there's the weatherproofing of the bike and the quality of the components itself. And of course, if you run into problems, there's going to be warranty issues and things like that that you're going to need to address. Then there's the bike itself. Now, sometimes it can actually be quite hard to get a bike which is going to fit a battery inside that front triangle and things like that. You're going to run into a few problems along the way, but it is definitely a cheap way to get into it. With e-mountain biking being such a new sport, we're seeing an ever-increasing amount of e-mountain bikes coming onto the second-hand market. Now, a well-cared, for example, could save you thousands off that initial purchase price. Just be sure to be looking over that bike when you go to see it. Things such as damage on the frame, damage to the motor, or excessive wear on components. And don't forget, some bikes will actually have apps which will allow you to connect your smartphone to the bike and have a look at the bike's health, where you can check things such as battery charge cycles and the motor's health itself. Now, this is a great example of a second-hand bike. Now, I picked this bike up on eBay for £1,200, and it is a great off-road capable hardtail, and I've saved a bunch of cash off that initial price, what that bike would have been. And it is a true off-road capable bike. Up front, we've got a suspension fork up there, 29-inch wheels front and rear, 500 watt-hour battery, powerful Brose motor, and the components on there such as hydraulic disc brakes and a wide range cassette is making this machine truly off-road capable. So some pros then for a second-hand purchase. Well, first up, you're going to save a load of cash and you're going to get a load of bike for not a lot of money. And also you're going to get a true off-road capable bike, and you might even pick up a full suspension e-mountain bike for the price of a brand new hardtail e-mountain bike. Some cons of buying second-hand. First up has to be no warranty in place on this bike. Now, this motor may pack in tomorrow or it may last for another 5 years. Secondly, you've got no history of this bike. You don't know what it's done or where it's been or how well it's been looked after. However, with all this put aside, it's an increasingly popular way of buying your first e-mountain bike. So all great options of getting out there and tasting some electric action, but what are my 5 favorite things about basic and entry-level e-mountain bikes? The first thing has to be that these entry-level bikes are pretty much capable of riding the same terrain as those more expensive bikes, and possibly at the same pace too. And secondly, I think for just a few £100s, it could see you setting wheels into places that you've never seen, let alone ridden before. And also with an e-bike, it's going to remove all those boundaries that may have stopped you getting there in the first place. And fitness, well, you'll never be afraid that you're not fit enough to ride your bike anymore. And things such as trail conditions or a late finish from work won't stop you either. An e-bike is a very inspirational tool that wants you to get out there, whatever the weather and whatever you're doing. And the choice of how hard you want to work on that ride, you can stick it in turbo mode and go for a cruisy one, or you can stick it in eco and have a big workout. An e-bike, well, it's the best thing ever. An e-mountain bike is a great way of sharing those rides that you go on. If you've got a family, a great thing to do is share the ride with them. You can fit a child's mounted front seat on this thing, and you can also tow a child along on an elasticated tow rope up some of those hills. Now, if you're doing this on a standard mountain bike, well, it is very hard work, but with that bit of e-power, it makes it a totally different experience. And the great thing about an e-mountain bike is that you can truly make a day out of it with the family, take a packed lunch along and enjoy the whole day. Now, once you've got that electric power under your bum, you're going to be searching out all those local trails and hill climbs that you used to huff and puff and maybe push your mountain bike up. With that e-power, you can sit on your bike and they become a bit more of a breeze. And the great thing about an e-mountain bike is that it opens up the door to a bit more exploration. We've all seen those hills and wondered, I wonder what the view's like from up there. Well, this thing is going to unlock that power. And the last thing is that this e-mountain bike could actually replace one of the cars in your household. It is a really capable all-round bike. You can use it to pop to the shops in the week. You can use it to commute to your place of work and obviously go shred the trails at the weekend. It is a truly capable all-round machine. But that's it. That is the best things about cheap e-mountain bikes. And there's loads to like, in my opinion. Get involved in the comments box down below about how you got involved in e-mountain biking. Did you go the budget route first, then go on to a more expensive e-mountain bike? Love to hear your story. Get involved down below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to us here on eMBN. And whilst you're there subscribing, get in that merch shop.